Hello, Thinking Big Nation, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 125 of the Thinking Big podcast. I'm your host, Sean Osborn, and today we have an amazing guest that's going to be joining us. His name is Mike Kim, and Mike is a business coach. He's a marketing strategist, and he really specializes in personal branding. And Mike, he's the author of the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestselling book, You Are the Brand. And he is also a great friend of mine. And I have been a member with him in mastermind groups and in mastermind communities since around 2019. And today we're going to be diving into one of my favorite subjects, and that's the unparalleled force multiplier of your life and business. And that is mastermind groups. Why? Because surrounding yourself with high-octane thinkers who dream big, who think big, brings you to a level of growth that can be downright mind-blowing. And we're going to explore what they are, how they work, how they can really accelerate your personal and your professional growth. And if you have ever been interested in starting a mastermind group or community, buckle up. You will enjoy this episode. Let's go.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborn, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
All right, let's get this party started. And one of my favorite things to do is to participate in and facilitate mastermind groups. The friendships, the connections, the growth that happens when you spend intentional time with thinking big people serves as such a magical catalyst for our growth. It is so important to stay close to the fire of growing people if we want to grow ourselves. There is a magic at the crossroads where brilliant minds meet. So welcome to the world of mastermind groups. Now, in this vast universe of personal development and entrepreneurship, to me, these groups are like powerful supernovas. And if you look at the best of the best, the uber successful in any industry that you can think of, they have all plunged into this transformational water of mastermind groups. They've all dived in. And they don't keep it a secret. They'll tell you how mastermind groups have rocketed their success growth trajectory into the stratosphere. You listen to successful people and they talk about this stuff all the time. At the end, I'll actually read a quote from Warren Buffett. Now, you may be wondering, what on earth is a mastermind group? If you're new to this, you might be saying, what is this? Well, picture this. A huddle of brilliant minds, your very own personal think tank or board of advisors. This group commits on a regular meeting with a deliberate agenda to harness the formidable power of the collective intelligence. I really want you to get that. It's a collective intelligence. It is a sacred space. It's a sanctuary for expansive thinking and big dreams. Now, what a mastermind is not is just as important. Mastermind groups are the hot thing right now. You hear people talking about them all the time, and everyone and their pet chameleon wants a piece of it. Some folks slap a label on their group coaching, their webinar series, their workshops, hoping to jazz things up and get people in, but it is not, absolutely not a mastermind. So let's be crystal clear. A legit mastermind isn't a classroom or a lecture hall. It's not a place where you simply show up and listen. It's a playground for the mind, where you're not just observing from the sidelines, you're in the damn game. You are engaged. So let's take a walk down memory lane for me and revisit one of my very first journeys into the mastermind world. And this was back in 96 or 97 when I was first starting my own IT service company. And I made an important choice, and it was to invest in my time in what we now call Mastermind. And a group of pretty high-powered people, I was lucky enough to get involved with them. Don't know how, but I was lucky enough to get involved with them. And I learned very quickly that these high-caliber people, these people expected more from me than I ever expected of myself. And those expectations, the support, the ideas led me to grow and scale my small IT company We were actually in the process of taking it public within, by the year 2000, we were taking it public. And ultimately, we actually sold the company for a little over $6 million in 2000. That's what the power of the mastermind can do. It holds you accountable for your big dreams. It makes you think bigger. It makes you act bigger. And I joined my first, what's now called a paid mastermind in 2016. The facilitator was a business coach who I'd used in the past. So I jumped in at the opportunity to join their mastermind group or join his mastermind group. And the group met biweekly on Zoom for, at the time, it was 90 minutes. And at the time, the investment was about $500 per month. And I'm telling you, it was a tough pill to swallow. $500 a month is not a ton of money, but it's enough to make you pay attention, right? And that decision felt like just a giant leap into the unknown. I had that uneasy feeling in my chest, like I was making the wrong decision. That you get that uneasy feeling. I now understand that that's just a part of getting out of my comfort zone, and I know now that when I get that feeling, it means that it's something that I really need to do. We operate on energy and vibration, and those decisions, those ideas, those are on a different vibration level, and we physically feel it. We get that tightness in our chest. We get that, that uneasy feeling because that's not our normal vibration. We're stepping out of that comfort zone. And it was an absolute, since 2016, I've been in that mastermind group, and it was an absolute game changer for me, for my business. It pushed me to get every ounce of wisdom and connection from our group meetings that I could. And part of that mastermind journey, starting in at least 2019, has been with, again, my good friend. We talked about him at the beginning, Mike Kim. And Mike, welcome to the podcast today.
Dude, Sean, yes, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. Honored to be with all of you who are tuning in. And it's just a privilege to just walk with good people, man. That's what it's about. Good people know good people who know more good people, so.
Yeah, and I was actually kind of looking back, kind of made me look back in the past since 2019 and being part of, yours is one of your mastermind groups, and just the growth that we literally both have had in the last 2.5 years is just unbelievable. Yeah, it is. It's like your book, You Are the Brand. I remember you going through within the mastermind groups, kind of the development, the skeleton, the naming, all these different things for your book. And it's like, those are the types of things that we do in mastermind groups. Those are the things that we help each other with. And so it's just amazing to see how much we've both really grown through masterminds since 2019.
Yeah, it's a unique, masterminds are an experience they're very unique. It's unlike anything else, right? We did that with my book. I was very open about the process. Robert Fukui, who is also in our group, I remember that call. We literally came up with his book title on the mastermind call in 15 minutes. He was like, that was worth the whole year, And I'm like, yeah, it is, because it just gives you so much clarity. And I would say it's never a bad investment to be around good people, right? And as we get older and grow, we have to be more discerning about our time, right? Our energy. But masterminds have absolutely been the number one game changer for me the biggest catalyst in my business. And it's why I still do them. It's why I believe in them. It's why I'm in them.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I think if I look back, the single most impactful thing that I've ever done for my business, and this goes back to when I started my first company in the 90s, my tech company, that all came from being within. And back then we didn't know it. We didn't call it a mastermind. We didn't, there was, this is back in the 90s. But I would have never come up with that company if I wasn't surrounded by those successful people that expected that type of success from me. So this goes back for me 20 something years of working in mastermind groups. And it's probably the single biggest thing that I've done from both a personal development standpoint, but from a, business standpoint, biggest thing that I've ever done. And, we just talked about, Robert's book, Tandem. I guarantee that not one single person in that mastermind group on that call that day would have come up with Tandem by themselves.
Right.
Nobody, I would have come up with it. No one would have come up with it by themselves. But as a group, we tap into that third mind. We tap into that, that mastermind, and we get ideas that we don't have when we're by ourselves. So I think it's one of the best things that I've ever done. And how has it really, besides that, how has it affected your entrepreneur journey on what you've done, since you've been doing masterminds.
Yeah, I always say, Sean, like I'm essentially a solopreneur. We have a small company. Everyone who works with me is on a contract basis, and with that comes a lot of questions on. I get this a lot. Hey, how have you stayed in business for so long, or how do you future proof your business? Now, I think I have a couple of skills, but I'll never forget, man, when I was in my 20s, so random. I was pretty involved in my church at the time. And one of my jobs, being this younger leader, was to like be the gopher for all the guest speakers. I'll pick them up to the airport, bring them to the restaurant, drop them to the hotel. And there's one guy who I got to know over the course of several years. He visited a lot. He was actually the king of a tribe in Ghana, in Africa. And I'd be driving around my little car and he'd be on the, cell phone, they were like this big back then, those brick cell phones. And he'd be on like the phone with like Kofi Annan from like the United Nations. And I'm like, what is my life right now? Like, how am I meeting these kind of people? And he said to me after he got to know me, he's like, hey, I'm going to tell you, son, you're very talented, but life is 90% who you know and 10% what you know. And being a younger guy at the time, I didn't believe him. I was like, whatever, because all our lives growing up, we're just taught if we have the right skills, that's going to be enough to get ahead. And when I look at my business, this type of business especially, it has been the relationships and the friendships that I've formed over the years that have allowed me to future-proof and recession-proof and technology-proof my business. I know that at any given moment, if all that got stolen from me, if someone hacked my email list and all my social profiles and my podcast, I could literally go into my phone and I could have 20 people to call who I know. I could say, I'm in need of work. I need to rebuild again from zero. Can you help me? And they'd be there for me. And I think that's something that most people don't understand until they exhaust their current following or their database and they realize I've dried up and they haven't invested the time to build relationships with others in a way that allows them to exponentially increase and expand. Right. So for me, it's just been so fulfilling first to just walk with so many of these people who have now, like yourself, have become such good friends. Right. It's lonely enough as it is being an entrepreneur and a business owner. But on top of that, there's so many upsides for business. So many. And I've got lucky to work with a lot of very successful people, especially in this industry where I'm coaching and advising and consulting. And Sean, dude, I tell you, I have not met a single person who has been successful in this line of work that has not been in a mastermind. And that's Absolutely. Not an exaggeration. Not an exaggeration. Yeah.
And the thing is you go back and look at history and you look at, Aristotle and Plato, they all had mastermind groups. They might not have called them a mastermind group. They're just hanging out. It's like, so I've been in free masterminds. That's how I came up with my company back in the 90s. I was lucky enough to get with a group of people that was at least consistent enough, which is very hard to do without a paid mastermind. It's a crap show half the time. People just don't pay attention. So I was lucky enough for that. I've been in paid masterminds and I've actually done masterminds, and it's, when I look at things in the past, so you're looking at the current, trends of things, and people are calling stuff masterminds and they're calling things that they really aren't. And one of the things that drives me crazy, either from a mastermind or a coaching standpoint, is when you talk with someone who's providing a service like a mastermind, they're a facilitator of a mastermind or they're a coach, and they don't have a coach or they're not part of a mastermind themselves. It's like, how can you, people looking for that? I mean, that's something you got to look out for. I mean, what do you think about people who either coach or do masterminds, facilitate masterminds that aren't a part of an actual group, that don't do it? They don't actually have the principles of the mastermind.
Yeah, I think it's bogus. I think I want my coach to have a coach. And it's not that his coach is better than my coach. It's that coaches and peer advisory groups like masterminds. I always tell people a mastermind is just basically a facilitated peer advisory group. It serves like a counselor or a board of directors, right? And you have to be intentional about the time and the agenda, right? And that's the facilitator's job. The right people have to be in the room, right? And you mentioned it before that it's like this third mind hovers over the group, right? And I'm a very visual person. So I literally imagine like, okay, we're getting on a call or we're meeting in person, and that third mind is there. So it's not that 1 + 1 = 2. In a mastermind, it's 1 + 1 = 4. It's like exponential. So if I'm jumping into a mastermind group with somebody, or I hire somebody as a one-on-one coach, I also want to know that they are being coached. And it's not that somebody's smarter than them. It's that when they get together and work, there's like another mind that forms. And that's what we're pulling from. So I'm looking for people who are willing to lead, but also be led. I'm looking for people who want to coach, but also are open to being coached, because we all make each other better. And so the free masterminds, I completely resonate with you. Like, I've been a part of some free masterminds, and the individuals were terrific, but collectively we didn't have enough buy-in and structure. So it just floundered. Right. And I see a lot of people using the word mastermind inappropriately because it sells better. I mean, like, what sounds better? Sean Osborn's group coaching program or Sean Osborn's mastermind? Yeah. Right. It feels like cooler. And there are people who are taking advantage of that and marketing things in that way. But you jump on the call and there's 70 people. How can you have 70 people in a mastermind? Like, no one even knows each other. You can't. And it's just a glorified coaching call or Q&A call. That's what it turns into. So that's not how.
Or a workshop. I've seen them. And it's like, if you're looking for a mastermind, or if you've been in one, if there's more than 10 to 12 people, it's not a mastermind. You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that effect that you do from a true mastermind group. It's, again, what you said, it's group coaching. And it's, so for me, it is so clear on the impact and the significance that, a mastermind group has had in my life. I will never be without a mastermind group. Hands down. I will never be without a mastermind group. More than likely a paid mastermind group, because here's the thing. I like a paid mastermind group because I don't have to worry about the crap. I don't have to worry about getting the right people in there. I don't have to worry about who's doing what. That's the job of the person that's facilitating it. They're going to get the right person in the group. They're going to make sure the group's cohesive. If someone in the group is speaking out or just won't shut up, that's the facilitator's job to say, you know what, Susie, or Fred, sit down. Let's and that's what you don't have if you have, a free mastermind group. And there's nothing against it. I think there's nothing against a free mastermind. It's just, they're just not as effective, and they're hard to maintain and keep. Yeah.
Yeah. And because there's no real leader, like you said.
Yeah.
There is a facilitator, he or she, they kind of keep everyone on time. They determine what's going on. There's admin work. And Sean, it's like, we're busy enough and we're stressed enough making decisions on our own for our businesses in and out every day. Sometimes you just need a place to let your hair down and just be like, here it is, like, sometimes these calls get real heavy, and I know, because you've been in those calls with me.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh man, it was just, without sharing names or whatnot, it's like, we do group updates, and one guy goes, well, yeah, my kid decided to use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu on another kid at school, so I had to go talk with the parents. And then the next person goes like, yeah, my wife wants a divorce. And the next person goes and he goes, my wife had a heart attack. And the next guy goes and my mother passed away. And I'm like, I need a drink. Holy cow. Like, this is intense. And I'm facilitating this. And I remember like calls like that. And I'm like, man, I thought this was a business mastermind. No, it's not. It's just business owners doing life together. And I actually looked at it like a great privilege, because the people therein, for me to reframe it and say, that means they feel safe enough with me and the people I've gathered that they're mature enough to hold space. They can let their hair down, right? They can just take the armor off, if you will, that we all have wear, in and out, running our businesses, and just find a place to actually rest. And I've had some people tell me like, yeah, I realized in an emergency, I don't have a lot of friends in my immediate town. All the people who called me to check up on my family or whatever I was going through were from our mastermind. Man, that means so much to me. Yeah. It really does. It's just oh man, that's so meaningful. So, um, it's so much more than just talking business, it's
Oh, it is.
life. So, yeah.
And here's the thing: in mastermind groups, we become family with each other. We truly do. I mean, it's a spot where we can talk about anything. And yes, it's always geared towards growing, getting better, moving forward, being the best that we possibly can, but it's a family. And I think that's one of the, I don't know, things that people don't understand about mastermind groups is it's a long-term play. If someone can't go into a mastermind group and expect in 2 to 3 months to have all these results. To me, it's like an insurance plan or investing. It takes a while, but that compounding effect from that investment, from that time, it's not going to pay off in 3 months. It might not pay off in 6 months, but within a year, within 2 years, it will pay dividends far greater than I ever imagined on the groups that I've been in.
Mm-hmm. And I think that lends itself to how you decide to show up as a member of a group. And this doesn't go talked about a lot. I did a 40-minute rant once on my podcast talking about how to actually maximize your group. Because a lot of people go in and they don't understand that you get what you put in. That's how a mastermind works. And one of the questions I always ask people who want to join a mastermind with me is like, what do you think you can bring to the group? That's a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Right. So are you coming with value? Are you clear on the value you can bring? Now, it doesn't mean you have everything else in your life figured out. That's why we're masterminding. But I know even if I don't have everything else in my life figured out, I can go help people brand. I can help them market. I can help them write. I can help them communicate. I've learned a few things. I know that's the value I can add to a group. And when I join a group, I know no one's going to spoon feed me anything. I'm like, all right, I joined this new group. I'm going to make sure I book a one-on-one call with all these people in this group, at least for 15 minutes a person, just say hi, connect outside of the group within 3 months. I'm going to make sure I do that.
And that's the magic of it.
That's the magic. And I'm going to show up early and I'm going to impress my mastermind facilitator. I want him or her to feel like, man, having Mike Kim in my group feels like I have a second mastermind leader. Could you imagine if everybody showed up like that? Like it would just ratchet it. And that's what our groups do. Right. So I'm bringing that energy. I want them to feel like it's a pleasure to have me in that group. Right. And then I'm listening. I'm not just like a fly on the wall when it's someone else's turn in the hot seat. I know that these very capable people are seeing the world very differently than I do in some respects. And they're asking questions that I don't even know I should ask. So it makes me tune in as an active listener. And that actually is really good for me as a coach and a consultant because I coach people. So I'm practicing active listening without me having to carry the burden of it, right? Yeah. Like you said, like I don't have to deal with all the other crap about running a group. So yeah, just the way you even show up is so important. I might be a little nerdy, man, but I go reread the transcripts from the calls. When someone recommends a book, I generally go buy it. Like because that's God, the universe, that third mind brought it to my attention on that day. I'm going to go act on it. So, that's how I approach my groups when I join one, and that's what I expect of people who are in one that I run.
And you mentioned something on that about the mastermind group. It's like you are someone who is a genius at copywriting. You're a genius at branding and branding yourself and being your own. Again, we have in the group, the last group that we were a part of. We had a lawyer. We had a business owner of a big construction company. Business owner. We had me. We've had. There's so many different aspects from the mastermind group that we cannot possibly see their point of view without being in that group and without being close knit. I mean, it just, again, there's nothing like a true mastermind group.
It's incredible. Like I think about this one call, and one of the members was like, I run a small marketing agency, and there's an opportunity to acquire someone's business. And he asked about it on a mastermind call. Where are you going to go to ask somebody about what it's like to buy another business? I mean, it's hard enough to buy a house, and we have realtors for that. And there were at least 3 people in the group who had bought businesses. I mean, that's just right. That 15 minutes right there could have saved him tens of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of hours, depending on how you look at it, in which way they go. And that's the thing for a mastermind. I'll never forget the first paid mastermind I joined. It was a hefty investment. It was $1,000 a month. And that was a stretch for me at the time. And Sean, I tell you, I was the youngest guy in the group. I was the poorest guy in the group. And I remember several of the people that I met there have become really good friends till this day, all these years later, 8, 9 years later. And I'll never forget this one guy, AJ. He didn't just invest in real estate. He invested in real estate companies. He bought real estate and property management companies. And he goes to me, "You remind me a lot of me when I was your age. And within 5 years, I fully expect you to be a best-selling author. You have all the goods. You don't need anyone's permission. You need to be, and you're going to be, one of the best and most respected names in your industry." Dude, there's nothing I could have ever asked anybody to get that kind of feedback. That guy just saw me. He saw me how I moved. He saw how I showed up in the mastermind. He just pulled me aside over a drink at one of our live meetups. And I felt like I could tackle the world. Priceless.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it 9 years later, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the expectation. You're absolutely right.
Expectation that they see expectations in us that we don't see in ourselves. And it's like just last year, and it was actually our mastermind group. And last year, people who listen to this podcast know that I'm coming out with my book, the UOS book. I'm paying a hefty amount. I won't say the company I'm going through, but I'm investing in my future. It's $25,000 for a speaking, to learn how to public speak correctly, to promote my book and to do keynotes and do these things. But one of the key changes for me was last year at the Mastermind live event. So every 6 months we do a live event with all the mastermind groups. And I had the opportunity to get up and speak. And being in that closed group of people that we know, like, and trust, that are there to support us, that are there to help us, that are there to encourage us, that are there to see what we can't see, I grew more out of that one talk than I think I've grown in probably several years on that front of my business. And it was a simple, just getting up and talk. Most people, that's nothing, right? But for me, that growth alone set a different trajectory for what I'm doing for the next 2 to 3 years. And again, that's the type of stuff that we see in a mastermind group.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's so cool that you share that, because when we do get the groups together, that's what I like to do. I want to give people that opportunity. I don't need to speak anymore. You guys, like, I'm there every week. It's like, how do we get this on film? How do we get this on video? What are things you can learn? Get some reps in with people, like you said, like, and trust. So we need to reshoot something. We could do all of that. And it's just, it also widens your exposure to this smaller group of people who also have audiences of their own. Yeah. So it's so meaningful to me when I see people without me telling them to do so. They meet up when they happen to be in each other's cities. They go grab a bite to eat. They're on each other's podcast. They're promoting each other's stuff. I don't take a kickback on anything. I'm just like, this is so cool. It just to have actually healthy communities for business owners and entrepreneurs.
And it's like I think it was early this year's, the live meetup was in DC. And I could not make it because of a commitment. I couldn't make it to my group's live event. So I was partnered, I came into another group, and it was just as if I landed there, 6 months ago. It was the same. People didn't hold back. Sometimes the crap we hear from our mastermind group, sometimes it's hard to take. It's like, I just got my ass handed to me today. But when I go back and I look at it and I actually digest, I'm like, man, if people didn't care and love, they would not give that. They would not give that feedback. And I like to think, sometimes in that mastermind group, it's almost like, what was that game they used to play? 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Do you remember that? It's like, you're always 6 degrees. It's like when you're in a mastermind group, I guarantee if there's someone that I don't know, I can throw it out to the mastermind group and it's going to It might take 6 months, but I'm still waiting for Snoop Dogg to come on the podcast, by the way. So I'm
Right.
just throwing that out there again.
Okay.
But it's like we are the people that we connect with, the people that we meet in the mastermind group beyond our own little group is, to me, that is actually probably one of the biggest values of the mastermind community, is having that much larger group that is just like we are.
Yeah. And it's like, who am I going to refer to? The people that I see once every 6 months or 9 months at an event where we say hi to each other for like 5 minutes, or the people I see every other week for 90 minutes. You know, the famous quote we all know, in some form or another, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And it's like, I get to spend time with all these people, and outside of, you know, my immediate loved ones, these are the people I talk to intentionally and like every week on this agenda. And Sean, I think that's one of the things that people who just say, well, I have friends and they'll talk to me whenever I need them. Why would I join a mastermind group? There's a shift in the energy when you put something on a calendar and there's an actual intent behind that time. It's not, oh, hey, can I pick your brain for free for the 50th time? Right? Because I've had friends do that with me and it never goes anywhere. And then there's like also a different accountability that you're held to. Like you said, people expect you to succeed. They expect you to do what you're supposed to do and do what you say you're going to do. It's one thing when you work with a one-on-one coach and you don't do what he or she says. It's another thing when you keep showing up week after week after week and you don't do what you said you did. And 11 other people are be like, yo, you're killing the vibe. You're killing the energy here. Like we are a bunch of people who have a bias towards action and you're not doing your job. Yeah. Like, what are you doing here? And that's like, when
it's like, Mike, if you came to the mastermind and you didn't show up, you are screwing me out of your gift. Yeah. You're screwing me. It's like, you better show up, Mike, because you're not going to screw me out of the gift that you have for the mastermind group. And it's like, everyone needs to show up. And again, that's part of the facilitator's job, that if someone's not showing up constantly, you know what, that's not your job as a participant to worry about that. That's the job of the facilitator to take care of that. And that's why, besides, and for me, I know people say this, but if I don't pay attention. And I know that's a thing, but it's true. It's like when my money's on the line, I'm much more likely to show up than if it was just for free and just friends,
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I never imagined that this would become one of the pillars of my business. I've been running Mastermind since the first year that I went into business full time for myself. And when I look back on it, I do realize how hard it is to find a good community. It's why some people have just stayed in, like yourself, for years. You know, it's just like we've been through so many other people have been divorced, people got married, we got through COVID together. It's like, it's just wild. Yeah. And you look back at, we've all grown. And you look back at that and you say, it's not just what you do, it's who you do it with. And to be able to say, like, I knew him when he was starting out, and I knew her when she was just building this thing, and it's just grown over the years. And we can kick back and get together a couple times a year, and sometimes randomly when we're in each other's cities, right? Like I come out to Houston, and you're like, hey, come on, let's go hang out. That is just so cool. I can travel almost anywhere in the country and probably find someone within a 2-hour flight or drive of someone I know in our communities, right? So outside of me going into the middle of nowhere in like Montana, right? Which I'd like to do, right? But that is just cool. And that is what I mean by like wealth. As a business owner, like I have relational wealth. It's not just like monetary wealth, it's relational wealth, that if someone needs something or needs an expert, like you said, I may know someone directly or 2 degrees without, right? Just recently told a friend of mine, Kevin, who's joining the Mastermind. And I said to him, he's a younger guy, I said, hey man, I want to put you in this group because we got a lot of people who already have podcasts and I know they need to get on YouTube, and you're an expert at this. And we don't have anyone in the community who's teaching YouTube. So you can go be that person and you'll be on, I guarantee it, you'll be on Sean's podcast, Sheila's podcast at some point, Robert's, mine, obviously the wider. You will literally reach 1 million people just by being on the podcasts of the people in our mastermind community.
Yep.
And that's like bonkers. Imagine just trying to like slave away and churn away like you're churning butter. You know, you need an accelerator, and that's what relationships are. Rocket ships. I say it all the time, and relationships are greater than an algorithm on social media. And that's how we do it. And I don't know, man. I'm always like flattered that the masterminds sell out, and we always have a waiting list. And I'm just like, you know what? People say, why don't you charge more? You can charge more and make more money and do less work. I'm like, I don't want to. I just love everybody who's in these groups. I just want to continue being around them. So that's how it's been. Amazing.
And I look back. So since I've been in in this mastermind community, I was given the suggestion, and this one actually came from you. This was back in 2019. Sean, you need to start a podcast. That was one of the first things that you told me. Mm-hmm. And so I'm too naive to know, okay, well, you expect it. It's this is what's the expectation is. So yeah, I'm going to go do it. So we are now on season 4, like episode 130, 140, top 100, top 200 in entrepreneurs. We've hit over 25,000 downloads this year so far, which is not huge, but this is all from the mastermind group. I've grown my email list, my subscribers up to over 100,000 subscribers. All of this because of what I do in the again, I might be naive, but when someone says, Sean, your business is going to be based on your mail list, your subscribers. That's how you're going to do things. Oh, okay. But that's the expectation of these mastermind groups. And okay, you expect it, then I go do it. And so again, I want to thank you for having that community. And so we're going to be starting a new mastermind group in July. So that's one of the big things is July, we're going to be starting a new mastermind, a brand new one. Again, there's been no openings for years for who knows, years. I mean, it doesn't happen. I've been on since 2019. I'm not going anywhere. It's like, so when people get on, they don't go back. So this is going to be a great opportunity for someone to actually get in on the mastermind community and start their growth.
Yeah. I'm excited to do this with you. And you have an area of expertise that I don't. I can bring some things to the table from my own experiences. And so if you're tuning in, we can't wait to meet you. We can't wait to see what happens. Sean has proven success. I mean, you're listening to this show. Dude, you're getting more downloads on your podcast, bigger email list than I did, and it's just, and I'm so happy for you. And that's actually one of the really cool things. You have a community of people who actually root for your success. What I found is that I don't think anyone really wants us to do poorly. I think everyone wants other people to do well, just not better than them. It's such a scarcity mindset. It's so petty. And that's the thing I love about when you really do life well, you get healthier when you're with healthy people.
Yeah.
You grow when you're with growing people. And so if this sounds good to you, apply. There's a link. Just tell us a little bit more about yourself, and I'm going to do my best to bring what I can to the group. But Sean, it's your group and you're leading, and I'm just so excited to just meet the people that you know and who come to you, and maybe I can throw in a few value bombs here and there once in a while and help people move forward in their marketing and their branding. But I'm excited about this.
I am too, and the live meetup. So it's going to be part of the same, community where we're going to all meet up together and twice a year for the live events, which are, again, it's a whole different game when we go and we do live events.
It's amazing, man. Yeah, I mean, and there's proximity and power. That's one of the other things I always say. Like everything gels to another level when you meet people in person. Yeah. There was a funny question somebody posed several months ago. I saw it online. It's like, if you've only talked to a person on Zoom, have you ever really met him? Have you actually met him? I'm like, oh, that's a good question. Right? With all this AI craziness happening these days, it's even more important to be with people in the flesh. It's that much more important. No holograms need apply, right? So it's going to be a great time together.
Thank you so much for coming on today, Mike. I just look forward to the continued growth of everybody.
Yeah, it's fun to grow. It's not always easy, but it's fun if you are wired that way. And if you're listening to this podcast, it means that you are wired that way. You're thinking bigger, you're doing bigger things, you're doing the things that matter. And it's awesome. So hopefully we get to cross paths and work together and just be a part of each other's growth and journey, and enjoy this journey that we're on.
Well, thank you again, Mike, for being a part of this podcast and sharing, some of your journey within mastermind groups and, the mastermind communities. And that brings up the fact that for more than literally a year, I've been completely full on my mastermind groups. No one has left the one that I have, so it has been completely full. I have people that ask to get in, and it's just not available. And I am so thrilled to announce that I am opening up a brand new mastermind group this July. This exclusive mastermind group, like my other ones, is going to be limited to 12 thinking big people. There is no more. There is no exceptions. It will not go above 12. And this is really to ensure the true mastermind connections and really the focused attention. And if you're looking at other mastermind groups, and again, if there's 40, 50 people in there, it is not a mastermind group. Might be some coaching, might be some stuff that's good, but it is not a mastermind group. So if you are eager to really skyrocket your growth and surround yourself with inspiring thinkers, do not delay. This is your golden ticket to get in on our mastermind community and transform. And remember, I rarely open up a new group. I might not open up another one for a couple years, and all seats are allocated on a first come, first serve basis. So apply early and seize the chance to create some real magic, and let's soar together. And that is a wrap for episode 125 of the Thinking Big podcast. And it has been an absolute pleasure guiding you through the world of mastermind groups today. It is such a big part of so many people. And I hope that you're leaving with at least some valuable insight and inspiration to take really your thinking and your performance to the next level. And remember, the power of the mastermind is in the collective mind. That's really where the magic is. Until next time, keep pushing boundaries, keep challenging the status quo, and above all, keep thinking big. And if you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to follow and rate and really review the podcast on your favorite platform. It really does help us. It is so important to us, and it helps us reach more people who, like you, are just eager to unlock their full potential and create the life that they desire.